Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to talk about my favorite historical romance reads of 2025 so far. So I think it's no surprise that I love historical romances so much. They bring me the greatest joy. They're my favorite subgenre of romance to read. And so I wanted to do this video today because it is kind of like halfway through 2025. So I wanted to talk about the favorites that I've read so far this year. I have 10 on here that are my new favorites that I read for the first time this year. And then the other, I think I have 4 that were rereads for me that I'll talk about at the end because I love those so much too. As always, if you ever want to see more of my thoughts or full reviews on any of these books, I always review every book that I read. So you can always get to my Goodreads, which is where my reviews are, in the description of the video below. Also in the description of the video, I'm going to have a playlist with a ton of other historical romance content from me. So if you want even more historical romance content, if you love historicals as much as I do, definitely check out there. I have a lot of recommendations, where to start, guides to certain authors, all the things, as well as I also include the links to all the books that I talk about in every video. So below in the description, you'll find the title, the author of every book that I talk about. So if you miss any or want to go add them to your TBR, you can see them below as well. So with all of that information out of the way, let's get into these books because I'm so excited to talk about them. All right, so I think I just have these in order of possibly like when I read them in the year. So started off in January with As You Desire by Connie Brockway. This one I am obsessed with, the gorgeous like kind of orangey bronze cover. We have a beautiful step back moment as well. This one I am a co-host for Historical Hellions, which is a historical romance book club where we read historical romances published before the year 2000. So actually I think maybe 5 of these are ones that we have read so far through July with the book club. So love that so much. So this is As You Desire by Connie Brockway. I loved this one so much. This is set in Victorian Egypt, where a majority of the book is going to take place there. And in here we have a friends to lovers setup as well as a mutual pining. Both of the characters in here, they basically kind of friend zoned one another for different reasons in the story that you see play out. And so in here you see them kind of coming to terms with their own feelings as well as finally like telling each other that. So this one is a setup where the hero actually has dyslexia, and so he grew up in England and he was treated horribly because of his difficulties with learning. So he ended up moving to Egypt, and so he lives there, works there, and he has found a job that works for him and that he can do successfully. He's really popular there. And the heroine was actually raised by her parents in England, and she is actually a child prodigy. So when she was really young, she could pick up a lot of languages and just learn things really quickly. So her parents kind of started like taking her around on this like European tour where they would basically just have her kind of like perform or show kind of how smart she was. And so she lives with her grandfather now in Egypt, who works there, and he actually works with the hero. And the heroine basically is always dreaming of this like idyllic to her, like this English countryside life that she thinks would be so perfect and that she wishes she had as a child. So she's kind of dreaming and wanting to move back to England, while the hero has like no desire to ever return there. And so he kind of knows that about her, knows that she wants to live there, and so he has kind of like friend-zoned her. And then with the heroine, she actually tried to make a move on him in the past, and he kind of like friend-zoned her, and so she was like, okay, he doesn't want that from me, that's fine. And so basically in here we see just like grand adventure and action in here from the start, and then you kind of get into their everyday life, as well as the heroes, I think it's his cousin, ends up actually coming down from England, and he basically shows up, sees the heroine, and is like, ooh, I'm kind of interested in her, and maybe I'm gonna like court her. And so that is when the hero is like, oh no, like absolutely not, you are not gonna work for her, I am perfect for her, and let me prove all the ways that her and I would be perfect for one another. So it's so much fun if you love mutual pining, especially a hero who is down bad for the heroine. The hero in this one is definitely that. He is reciting poetry to her, and he's like, if a man really loved you, these are the things he would do, these are the things he would say. It's so good. I loved this one. The romance is so good. So yeah, As You Desire, Connie Brockway, highly recommend. Next is An Improper Proposal by Patricia Cabot. So this is actually the historical romance pen name for Meg Cabot. This was again another one that was a Historical Hellions book club pick. I think this was our pick for February. So like we started off the year so great. I love this one. The cover is so pretty, the floral and kind of that metallic shine as well. This one is definitely more of like an old school historical romance vibe, where it's very just like over the top, fun, dramatic, very bonkers, but like in a fun, good way. The heroine in this one, she is actually the only daughter. She has, I think, 3 brothers, and her father owns like a shipping business. And so she's kind of grown up on ships and going around with her brothers. She was always treated as one of them and just kind of like she dreams of one day having her own ship as well. So she kind of gets a rude awakening because basically I think all of her brothers as well, like her father would always gift each of the brothers their own ship to captain when they turned 19. So the heroine was like, that's what I want too. Like, and obviously I've been treated the same. I've grown up on the sea with you guys. Like, I'm going to be getting that as well. But of course things change with her upcoming 19th birthday. And all of a sudden her father and her brothers are like, oh yeah, like you grew up on the sea, but now we want you to become a proper lady. We want you to get married. Like, that's what you're going to do. So the heroine is like, excuse me, what? On top of that, the man that she's been crushing on and in love with for years, who is the hero, he actually kind of grew up alongside her brothers and her and worked for her father as well on his ships. He is about to be married to somebody else. So the heroine is super upset about that. And then to just kind of like rub more salt in her wounds, her father ends up gifting the hero the ship that the heroine always wanted for the hero's like wedding present. And so she is beside herself. And so it kind of starts from there and kind of just gets into the family antics, as well as you see kind of reasons or things going on with the hero and maybe why he is possibly going to be marrying somebody else. It goes from there. The first bit is definitely those like first, I think like 2 days of the story. And then you kind of get into the adventurous, the high seas, the broken up wedding situation, some pirating, all of those things. So this one is so much fun. This is An Improper Proposal by Patricia Cabot. Next up is A Tropical Rebel Gets the Duke by Adriana Herrera. So this is the third and final book in her Las Leonas series. This is a newer release that came out in February, I want to say. This one is so good and I had such a good time with it. So this series is taking place in Paris and we're following these group of friends. It's the late 1880s. And here the heroine's a physician and she is running an underground women's clinic. So her life and work and her career is kind of dangerous. So she's just like very determined to stay focused on her job and she really enjoys her work. And then we have the hero. He shows up. He is a Black Duke and so he is going through some things as well because of kind of the time and the place that he's in. And he is just determined to have the heroine and he wants to prove to her how much they would be perfect for one another. So it's a lot of pining from the hero in this one. And in here, I really loved how the heroine is very independent and she's very focused on her career. She enjoys her work. It's very like heavy, emotionally draining, but she really enjoys what she does. And so because of that, she's never planned on marrying or having somebody else in her life. She's like, I don't want them to tell me what I can and can't do, kind of things like that. And the hero in here, he is just so besotted with her and he is determined to prove to her that they'd be perfect for one another. He just wants to be the one to take care of her at the end of the night, spoil her, lavish her, all of those things. So some heavier content because of the heroine's career, but I really love this one, especially the hero. He is down bad for the heroine. This is A Tropical Rebel Gets the Duke by Adriana Herrera. All right, and then next up, I read this one in the spring. This is A Kingdom of Dreams by Judith McNaught. Here is the gorgeous cover for this one. I love the red and gold on here. And then we have this gorgeous, stunning up close step back moment as well. This is one that had actually been on my TBR for years and years. I was just kind of saving it to get to, and I will admit that when I read this one in the spring, I enjoyed it. I saw the hype for it all, but I wasn't like as obsessed with it as you will see I did become of Judith McNaught with later books. This is like a classic historical romance staple, enemies to lovers, medieval. The hero ends up abducting the heroine, and it is a lot of their adventures on the road together. This one I actually want to reread because I have fallen in love with Judith McNaught books since, like obsessed level, where this one I already did really enjoy it and like it, but there were some parts of the story that I felt like were maybe a little bit too long or a lot of repetitiveness with the kind of the back and forth between the hero and the heroine. So I might need to reread this because I have since fallen in love with Judith McNaught books even harder. But basically in this one, the heroine is Scottish, she is in a convent, and then the hero is an English hero, and so they already have that kind of like rivals, enemies to lovers vibe. Like I said, this is medieval, so that time frame as well. And basically the hero shows up and kind of tricks her into traveling with him and his companion because of reasons, and it kind of just unfolds from there. And you see the heroine, she's super headstrong, she's always trying to run away from him. That was kind of one of my issues with the book, is just like the repetitiveness of her running away and them kind of giving into each other, going apart, getting back together, going apart. But I feel like since I've read more Judith McNaught books, I feel like that's just kind of her vibe of these like very wordy, lengthy prose. So I want to maybe give this one another try, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm so glad I finally read this iconic historical romance staple. Enemies to lovers, he abducts her, captive vibes, so good. Next is Lilacs on Lace by Linda Ladd. I actually read this one before A Kingdom of Dreams, and then I remember in a live show for this one, because this was another historical Hellions book club pick, that people were saying that this one gave them A Kingdom of Dreams vibes, so that's when I finally decided to read that one. But this one I loved and was obsessed with. First of all, the stunning cover, the blue metallic with the lilacs on here, and then this has a stunning Scottish Highlands step back. Just such a stunner. I'm obsessed with this one. This is one that had been, again, on my TBR for a few years, and so we decided to read it for our March pick for Historical Hellions, and I am so glad we did. Sadly, this book does not have an ebook. It doesn't have an audio, so you have to actually have the physical book to read it, but it was stunning and amazing. So if you can find this at like a used bookstore, I think that's where I got mine years ago, or find it online on some like used book sites, I highly recommend it. It's so good. I read this one physically and was obsessed. I read it in a day. This one is another Scottish Highlands historical romance, but this one is set later than A Kingdom of Dreams. So this one is like the 1690s. And in here, the heroine, she was orphaned when she was young and she was raised in an abbey. And you see in here how she's treated not very great in the abbey. She's actually forced to wear an eye patch on her eye because people say she has like an evil witch eye, which basically she just has like shades of, I think, brown in one of her eyes. So her eyes are kind of different colors. And so people have thought she is evil. And so they kind of don't treat her very nicely. And she was always told about this horrible, like other family, the MacDonalds, where they killed her clansmen, killed her parents, and so she is always supposed to like look out for them, basically. And so you've seen here how she has been raised in an abbey since she was super young, and she always has known that she's going to be marrying this English lord eventually, because I think it's like an uncle or something who has basically betrothed her to this man, and so she knows when she turns 21, she's supposed to be taken out of the abbey and go get married. And so she's actually kind of looking forward to that because she hates her life at the abbey, and so she's very much looking forward to freedom. So in here at the beginning of the story, two men end up showing up to come and pick her up, one of which is the hero, and they basically are like, yeah, we're gonna take you to your betrothed. And so she kind of thinks like the timing isn't right, but she's like, I mean, makes sense, it was supposed to happen. So she starts traveling with them, and then she very quickly realizes that they are not quite who they said they were, and they're not taking her where they said they were either. I love this one so much. You see in here that the hero is from the MacDonald clan, which is the clan that she's been kind of warned against her whole life. And so she basically starts to learn that maybe that was a lie, and a lot of other things in her life might have been a lie as well. And what I loved in here is the hero. He's very sweet and like caretaking and takes his time with her, where he has a lot of like revelations for her about her life, but he takes his time and kind of eases into it. And he doesn't like, he's super attracted to her, but he doesn't like push that because he's like, she's going through a lot, let her handle all of these other things before I kind of, you know, make a move on her. And I really loved that, just like the consent of it all. This one I just loved, very like sweepingly romantic and swoony, very old school vibes. I love this one so much. A little bit of a slower start, and then towards the end of the book is when the action and the drama and the adventure kind of pick up a little bit with the warring families, some kidnapping, queens involved as well. It kind of goes from there. So I love this one. It was so sweet and romantic and just like very sweepingly over romantic vibes is what I get from this. So I loved it. This is exactly the old school historical romance that I love. So one of my favorites. This one actually made me cry. I love it so much. This is Lilacs on Lace by Linda Ladd. Next up we have Moonstruck Madness by Lori McBain. This one is another very old school historical romance. First of all, this gorgeous, stunning cover. There's actually two editions of this book. I have both and love them so much, but I love the heroine on the horse on this one. This has like the full kind of wraparound situation. Just stunning. I wish they made historical romances like this still. And the gorgeous red sprayed edges. Such a stunner. This book was actually published in 1977, and I loved this one so much. You can actually read it on Kindle Unlimited, and it has not been edited as far as I know. And basically this book was a really big deal at the time when it was published because of the consent that we have on page, which at the time, if you think about late 1970s historical romances in particular, that wasn't really the case with a lot of them. So, you know, bodice ripper vibes, where this one was just like a big deal and a conversation at the time it was published of seeing that consent on page between the hero and the heroine. And I love this one, not just for that, but that is just like a point I wanted to point out. So this book is actually the start of a trilogy, and I definitely want to go read the other two. I believe the next one is the couple of this one. It's their daughter's book, and it deals with pirates, and I can't wait. But this one is a historical romance, and here what I really loved is that we have a highway woman. So the heroine in here is the one who's the highway woman, hence her being on a horse on here. And so this one starts off and it kicks us back to the Battle of Culloden, and you see in here, and the heroine is a little girl, and she's kind of snuck herself up on this hill to kind of see the things happen on with Culloden because her grandfather's down there. He is leading her family's clan. He is kind of like the laird of their clan. And of course you see what happens on the horrific battlefield of Culloden. Her entire family is basically swept away. So the heroine and her younger brother and her sister, they end up getting to escape with their aunt, and they head off to England. So we catch up to them years later, and she is in England now, and you see that the heroine actually is working as a highwaywoman, basically like a thief, where she basically will go and to carriages in the night and have them held up and kind of steal and thieve from them. And so you see for reasons of why she's doing this, to kind of take care of her family and be able to support them and have money for them. And so the hero in here, he kind of gets wind of this highwayman because everybody assumes it's a man doing these things, and so he's determined to kind of catch the person responsible, and so he sets a trap and the heroine shows up. So the hero from there is totally thrown back because she's a woman. Of course, he's instantly attracted to her, and it kind of goes from there. I will say the first half I loved so much. The second half just has all of those like very old school historical romance vibes where every trope in the world is thrown in. It's action, it's adventure, it's drama, there's angst. It's very over the top, but I feel like I was just so entertained and had a good time with this one. So if you are like me and like old school historical romances, I highly recommend. It's so fun. Like I mentioned, having that consent in a book published in the 1970s, especially for historical romances, was such a fun treat, as well as you get to see some of their like spicy times. It's not like super descriptive as like a today reader would expect, but I mean, you're definitely getting like some brief description of things happening on page. So I did really enjoy this one. This is Moonstruck Madness by Laurie McBain. I cannot wait to read more from this author. All right, and then the next one is a newer release. So this is Road Trip with a Rogue by Kate Bateman. This is the third book in her Majesty's Rebels series, which is basically following these heroines who are all friends and they actually all own and work in this private investigation firm together. And so in here, you're getting the heroine who always wears pants. She's always has a gun on her, and she's kind of the more adventurous one of the group. So you see in this one how the heroine is hired to stop this young heiress from running away to Gretna Green to elope with somebody. And so basically that girl's family wants this wedding to not happen, and so the heroine is kind of chasing after them. So there's a bit of a road trip involved. And so the hero, he's a duke, he's actually a friend of her brother's, and so he ends up showing up to follow the same couple who are trying to go and get married in Gretna Green. And so he is traveling along with the heroine for his own reasons of wanting to follow this other couple. And so it kind of goes from there. It has all of the like classic road trip adventures, a lot of sharing their carriage together and sharing like the only one bed at the inn, and kind of all of those like adventures along the way. The banter in here was so much fun. This is one of my favorites of newer historical romances. As you can tell by my list, a lot of these are going to be old school historical romances. A lot of newer ones haven't really hit as well for me nowadays, but this one did hit and was a lot of fun. It just came out towards the end of July. All right, next up is Whitney, My Love by Judith McNaught. This one, the cover is such a stunner. Again, a full wraparound situation. I'm just obsessed with this book. You've probably already seen me gush and talk about this book in multiple wrap-ups and different things, but I am just so obsessed with this book. This book is the one that made me fall in love with Judith McNaught writing, and so this has made me go down a rabbit hole of just wanting to read all of her books now. So this book was our June Historical Hellions book club pick, and I was obsessed with this book, which this book is very polarizing. I knew about this book for years and kind of always heard very mixed reviews about it, and I will say our live show had a lot of mixed reviews as well, which you can check out the live show. I'll link it below if you want to go check that out. But this one is just everything that I love in historical romance. It's drama, there's angst, there's like miscommunication, which I feel like Judith McNaught is just super popular at doing, but I feel like in her books, they really make sense for the reasons of the miscommunication. They just really work for me. She always has very sassy, kind of fiery heroines, and the heroes are always down bad for them, but like in their own way. They might not like outwardly show that right away, but they definitely love their heroines, and I was just obsessed with this book so much. So the setup for this one is that the heroine, she is a young girl, her mother has passed away, and her father is just like, doesn't know what to do with her. So she is always kind of getting into trouble. At the beginning of the story, I think she's riding on a horse, standing up to try to get this other boy's attention. And so he's like, okay, I don't know what to do with this girl. So he ends up sending her off with her aunt and uncle. They take her to France. And so she kind of grows up there, and she spends, I think, like 4 years there with them. So basically in here, when she turns 20, her father ends up telling her that she needs to come back home, back to England. And the heroine's super excited because she has still been just kind of like pining after this young boy in town that she was obsessed with and in love with, and is like convinced she's going to marry and finally catch his attention. So she is really looking forward to returning home. And when she gets there, she ends up meeting their new neighbor, who of course is the hero. He's actually kind of like a little bit keeping his identity a secret, where basically he's a duke and he doesn't want the heroine to know that. So she just thinks he's like another neighborly guy. And so basically in here, the hero, like if you want a down bad hero, an alpha hero, a besotted hero, that is what the hero in this one is. He's basically only seen Whitney 3 times. I think only one of the times she remembers, but he has been obsessed with her since and is determined to kind of get her in his life, and he wants her to fall for him. So basically after those very brief encounters with her, those 3 different times, he decides, you know what, I want this girl, I'm gonna do anything I can to get her. So he finds out, has somebody like investigate her father, finds out her father is in this like huge debt. So he goes to her father, pays off all of their debts, ends up like fixing up their house, giving them money, and to kind of improve her life and clothing and jewelry and all the things. And so basically he tells her father, like, in return for me paying off all your debts, which I think was like millions of dollars converted to like nowadays money. The hero is basically like a billionaire back in the day, that he says, in return for me paying off all your debts, saving you from debtor's prison, I want your daughter's hand in marriage. But you can't tell her about it because I want her to fall for me. I want to woo her. I want to convince her like we're going to be perfect for one another before I tell her that we made this plan. So that's basically the setup, and it goes from there. I just love this one. A lot of back and forth, obviously, because of the hero keeping some of the things a secret. There's going to be like miscommunication involved, and I feel like that's just like it made sense for their story and for these characters. So it really worked for me. Like I said, I love alpha heroes. So the hero just like, I was just eating up everything he was serving in this book. I loved him so much. I feel like the hero in this one, he truly walked so obsessed down bad romance heroes today could run. Like the way this man is just obsessed with Whitney is so good. I love this book to pieces. The drama, the angst, yes, it's messy. Yes, they make like complicated, confusing decisions, but like I loved it. There is some like dubcon, non-con things happening, which has been edited in a newer ebook version of the book. So I actually read both parts, and I feel like it wasn't that controversial for me personally. I'm somebody who reads a lot of dark romances in general. So maybe like my mindset going in already knowing about it skewed that, because I feel like it wasn't even that big of a deal to me personally. So anyways, I love this book. Whitney, My Love is everything that I've ever wanted in a historical romance. One of my favorite books of the year. I love this book. I didn't even mention, but this book does tie back to A Kingdom of Dreams, because the Kingdom of Dreams couple is the hero in here, his ancestors. So it's like 400 years or more actually between their books. So good. I love it if you can't tell. All right, so I mentioned I'm obsessed with Judith McNaugh. I was not lying. So the next one is Until You. I love the like pearlescent shine on this cover. It's so good. This is actually the third book in the Westmoreland series. So if you've read A Kingdom of Dreams and then Whitney, My Love, this one comes next. This is Until You. And this book, the hero of this one is actually brothers with the hero of Whitney, My Love's hero. And so in that book, you already saw the characters of this book. And so basically in here, this is another one where I have to like set up a ton of this book because it is kind of complex to describe, but it's honestly so much fun. I'm just obsessed with this book. So this is an amnesia romance where basically in here, the hero in here is an earl, and one night he's coming home and his carriage ends up hitting somebody who runs out into the street in front of him. This like drunken baron runs out into the street, and so the hero's carriage runs over the man, kills him. And so the hero, the earl, he jumps out of his carriage and is like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. Let me go to this man's house, apologize to his family, see how I can help them, all of these things. So he shows up at the man's house, and the butler is basically like, yeah, he didn't have any family, but he is due to marry an American coming over on a ship who is supposed to arrive tomorrow. So the hero is like, okay, well, I'm going to go apologize to her down at the shipyard. I will be there when she arrives. Then you cut to the heroine, and she is actually the companion of the girl who was due to marry the baron. And so they are on this ship from America. And so the heroine Sheridan is actually somebody who's always dreamed of romance. She reads romance books, and she's always just like dreaming of like the perfect love story for herself. But basically she is a companion to somebody else. So she's kind of trying to figure out how she's going to tell the baron when she sees him that the girl she was in charge of actually ended up slipping away and eloping at their previous port stop. And so she's like, how am I going to tell this baron that the woman he's supposed to be marrying has disappeared? So she's coming off of the boat thinking of that. And then you cut to the hero, and he is seeing her come off the ship and is like, how am I going to tell this woman that the man that she is supposed to marry and all of her like hopes and dreams around, how am I supposed to tell her that that man has now died? And so they're coming to each other on the port. And so he's in the middle of trying to tell her what happened. And the heroine Sheridan, she ends up getting hit with something on the shipyard. And so the hero takes her back to his house, and the heroine wakes up and she has amnesia. So she doesn't remember her own name. She doesn't remember why she's in England. She doesn't remember who she is. She doesn't remember what she looks like nothing. And so the hero is basically telling her like, yeah, you were supposed to marry this baron, because he's assuming she was that girl. And so it kind of goes from there. So it's obviously set up as like miscommunication. And the hero is basically like, oh my God, like I wrecked this whole girl's like future. I need to make it better. So like now I'm going to say I'm engaged to you since you don't have any memories. And so it kind of goes from there. It's honestly just so good. So much fun. I was just swept up in this story. Again, I feel like you have to enjoy old school historical romances to enjoy this, because it has very like alpha heroes and very like over the top, dramatic, very like kind of OG soap opera vibes of storytelling. but I was obsessed and hooked. It's just so much fun. Of course, it's going to be like leading to more miscommunication, but like that's what the entire amnesia plot is built around. So I had so much fun. I loved Until You. So good. All right, next up is Falcon on the Wind by Shelley Thacker. So this one has actually been republished, retitled. I'm going to put the ebook cover up here because this is His Stolen Bride. So if you see me talk about this book, that is the book that I'm referring to, because the author on her website said that she re-edited this book and this is like her preferred format of the book is the ebook, but it all started as like Falcon on the Wind. So I have this cover as well. So I will just keep the cover up here because the author, like I said, she retitled, republished. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited, and on the author's website, she said that it was originally titled this book, but this is like her preferred edition with the extra material and kind of the edited version of the story. So I'm gonna talk about it like that. But this was actually our July Historical Hellions book club pick, so that's why I read it. This is the first book in her Stolen Bride series, and this is a medieval historical romance. It has kind of captor-captive vibes, where basically the hero abducts the heroine on her wedding day, and it kind of goes from there. So in this one, the hero is Scottish, and like I said, this is medieval times. This is like the late 1290s, I want to say. And so basically you see how he is trying to save his country. He's trying to save Scotland because England is trying to invade. So you see in here how the hero and a couple other people are trying to get the French king's help in saving Scotland from England. And so they're like, let's become friends since we both have the same enemy. And so basically the hero has been working with the French king and the French king's cousin to try to get their support and aid. And so the French king and his cousin are kind of seeing it as a way to get more out of it. Like, how much more money do you want to pay us? How much more land do you want to give up for us to come and help you? And the hero is basically like, listen, I need help like today. England is on our borders. They are about to invade our lowlands. Like, we need help ASAP. Like, I can't be waiting around for help. So he decides to kind of push them into helping them sooner. So he decides to go down to France and abduct the heroine who is due to marry the French king's cousin. And he's just gonna like keep her captive for 2 weeks until it entices the king's cousin, who has the French king's ear, to kind of make moves quicker and help Scotland. So that's basically the setup. And here you see how the heroine, she's actually a French heiress. She has a lot of lands, she has a lot of money, and she's been living in an abbey. And this is sounding similar to other books, but this is just like very common of the era of the time, like in history. So in here you see that her stepfather comes and tells her like she's been living there for I think like 10 or 11 years at this point, and she thought she was just gonna live her life out there. Like, she's very happy with her life in the abbey. And so her stepfather comes and tells her like, actually no, you're gonna marry the French king's cousin like tomorrow, basically. And so in here she is not looking forward to it. She doesn't want to get married. The man that she's supposed to marry is over half of her age. He has been married twice before. His previous wife was killed during like some suspicious circumstances with a fall down the stairs. She's kind of warned that her husband-to-be is very volatile and violent, that he has mood swings, that he is constantly importing opium and poppy, and just like he's kind of out of control. And so people are like, good luck with that though, honey. And so when she ends up getting abducted on her wedding day, she's kind of not seeing it as a bad thing. And so in here you see the very like action adventure of her and the hero setting off together, and he basically wants to take her back to Scotland to force France's hand in helping, but the hero is like, this is only going to be for 2 weeks and I'm sending you back home, like don't worry. But the heroine was like, yeah, I actually don't want to return to that guy. So, and it goes from there. There's a lot of like family secrets and kind of some like emotional backstories with both of these, and I just loved how it all played out. The very like action, adventure, over the top, the like dramatics of the family reveals and things. I love this one. I love both of the characters. It's so good. Like I said, I'm just like in this old school historical romance vibe. So this one super worked for me, and I'm so excited I got to it. So again, that is His Stolen Bride by Shelley Thacker, which is also Falcon on the Wind by Shelley Thacker. So that is that book. All right, so those are all 10 of the new to me historical romances that I've loved this year. And then I have some 4 Lisa Kleypas rereads, because I've been a co-host for a couple different Lisa Kleypas read-alongs, and so these were favorites, but they're rereads for me, but they're ones that I just love and I'm obsessed with. So if you haven't read them, I highly recommend. All right, so these first 3 books are all part of the Hathaway series. So we have Mine Till Midnight. Here is the gorgeous cover and a beautiful step back moment. Obsessed with the blue and gold. We have Seduce Me at Sunrise, the red and gold, one of my absolute favorites. And then we have Love in the Afternoon, the 5th and final book in the Hathaway series. So these books are also good. I love them to pieces. Honestly, these 2 are like my favorites, and depending on my mood or the day, they can like go back and forth of which one is like my top read. This one is perfect as well. No notes, but these 2 just like hit more for me. So this book, you're introduced to the Hathaway's family. This is Amelia Hathaway's book. She's basically the oldest sister of the family and is kind of treated as like the matriarch of the family, where their older brother actually ends up inheriting a title, and so they are kind of thrust into this like more aristocratic lifestyle that is definitely not kind of how they were raised. And so they kind of go from there of she's needing to find her brother because he's missing and kind of just like floundering away his life, and so she wants to go and find him. And so the hero in here, he works at a gaming hell, and he basically sees the heroine when she's searching for her brother and is very intrigued by her and wants to get to know what's going on with her. So it kind of goes from there. This is very much found family, an amazing family vibe. The hero in here just wants to take care of the family and become a part of their family as well, and it goes from there. It's so good. This is the start of the Hathaway series. Then the next one is Seduce Me at Sunrise, one of my all-time favorite Lisa Kleypas books. This has mutual pining, and here the heroine was basically kind of sick and very ill, and so she's always been looked at as kind of very frail and like she can't take care of herself and that she's going to break. And so the hero in here was actually raised as a part of the Hathaway family. He was taken in as a young child and worked for the family, and so he has always been into her. She's been into him. Everybody in the family knows it, but basically the hero in here doesn't think he's worthy of her, as well as he always kind of treats her as very breakable. And so in here you see she goes away for a couple years to like a health clinic to get better, and she comes back and somebody else might be interested in her. And so that's when the hero is like, hold up a minute, maybe not. And so it goes from there. Mutual pining, very angsty, so good. I love this one. Then the third book is Love in the Afternoon, and this one is so good as well. So in here it is an epistolary kind of secret identity type of romance where the hero in here, he is off at war and he is writing to the heroine's friend because it's basically somebody who was kind of maybe possibly going to court before he left for war. And so that friend actually got tired of writing to him. She's kind of like just keeping all of her options open, and she's not interested in the hero. And so the heroine in here, she asks her friend, like, can I still keep writing to him? Because like, I love what he's talking about, him and I really connect. Like, I'll pretend I'm you so you can like still keep your feelers out there, but like, I'm gonna write to him. And so her friend's like, yeah, do whatever. And so when he returns home, he is expecting to see the person that he thinks he's writing to and fall in love and just like be swept up in it and everything like that. But of course he comes back from war a different man. He has a lot of PTSD and trauma from that, and his life is just like very different now. And when he sees the woman he thinks he's writing to, he of course realizes very quickly, like, this is not who I thought I've been talking to for years. So it kind of goes from there, where of course eventually he's going to find out who he was actually writing to. It's so good, very like friends to lovers vibes, and I love this one, so emotional. And the last Lisa Kleypas read, this is book 2, Marion Winterbourne in her Ravenels series. So this is the gorgeous cover for this one. And this is the Step Back, the Beautiful Bride moment of Helen and Reese Winterbourne. This is a series that I'm currently co-hosting, so you can still join us because we are only on, I think we're going into book 3 now for the Ravenels, so definitely join us. But this book is so good. I love this one. This, like I said, these are all rereads of these Lisa Kleypas books. I love her books. If you need to know a place to start with Lisa Kleypas or want to know about all of her books, I have a video where I break down all of them, tell you where to start, talk about all of her books, so definitely go check that out. I'll link it below. The heroine in here, she's kind of like just very keeps to herself. She's looked at as very shy and maybe more of like a wallflower. And the hero in here, he's a self-made man, which if you haven't read a Lisa Kleypas book, self-made men heroes are her like bread and butter. They're so good. And so in here, the hero basically sees her, wants her, and is determined to get her. And so it's just so swoony and good. I love these two's pairing so much. You kind of get the startup to their situation in the first book, Cold Hearted Break, but this book, so good. I love it so much. The Ravenels are just so good. All right, so those are all of the historical romances that I have loved so far this year. Like I mentioned, 10 of those first ones were all new to me reads, and the last 4 were all rereads. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got some to add to your TBR. If you have any historical romances to recommend me, definitely drop them in the comments. If they're old school, even better, because that's the mood I am in right now. Like I mentioned, I have a ton of other historical romance content, which I will link that playlist below, as well as all the books I talked about are linked below as well. So if you want to go grab them and check them out for yourself, definitely do that. If you'd rather leave me an emoji in today's comments to let me know that you watched this video, leave me a unicorn emoji because it just makes me feel super happy, and I'm obsessed with all these books so much. So leave me a unicorn emoji. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!